is for Grandma's sweet white scones. Grandma was Grandma O'Connell, so therefore the mother of O'Connell's, Rory and Tom O'Connell, who created this restaurant, and now affectionately known as Grandma. Unfortunately, Grandma a couple of years ago passed away, so she's now making scones on high, we hope, and we consider that we have a big obligation to make sure that our good cooking remains alive through our baking and the various recipes that are part of what we do at O'Connell's. You take plain white flour, we mix in 3 teaspoons of baking powder, you let the air flow through, and I could never really get my scones right until one time I was home on holiday and I said to my mother, I really can't get your scones right, can you help me? And she said, explain to me what you do. So I said, I rub in the butter and I make sure it's all very fine and everything. She said, I think that is your problem. So you rub in the butter, and I will show you with my hands. I'm rubbing the butter through my hands with my fingers, on the tips of my fingers. But I should not rub it in until it goes back to floury powder. You need to leave it in such a way that it's even still a little bit lumpy. And this will help the texture, the end texture of the scones. This particular recipe, that I suspect goes back to my great-grandmother Rochford and beyond, is that the scones are really, really fluffy. In this restaurant we also make this recipe with gluten-free flour for celiacs. The recipe I'm demonstrating today is with normal flour. So we keep rubbing this in now, and it's very important to do this by hand. We will not, the O'Connell scones, Grandma's sweet white scones, will never be the same if they're made with a machine. I'm sorry, it doesn't work. You've got to do it by the time-honoured way. This is Grandma's bowl, and it's affectionately known in our kitchen as the Holy Bowl, because every time we make the scones, I'm quite careful to check, was it made in the bowl? But I refer to it as the bowl. The chefs refer to it as the Holy Bowl, because they know that the scones will not be passed as acceptable if I happen to find out that they were not made in the Holy Bowl. So you see now, I have rubbed in the flour, the butter, but not totally. There's still little bits of butter in there, and it's still a little bit lumpy. It's not really like sandy or whatever. It's really got to have those flecks of butter in there. And please, please, please use real butter. Of course, in Ireland, use real Irish butter by Irish farmers, but if abroad, then use the best butter you can get. We actually use salted butter. That gives a natural, a little bit of salt into the mixture. So now I'm going to add my mixture of eggs and milk, full fat milk. To the mixture, I put my hand into a claw and I go in a circular motion. It's like a lot of recipes in baking, and particularly in home style baking, you need to judge. So I will always have a little extra milk available on the side in case I need to add some more milk. It's really a lot about feeling. It's a lot about feeling with your hand, knowing the texture. When we teach our new chefs how to do this, we always tell them it's about the texture, it's about the feeling. You have to feel the softness. I'm going to add a little bit more milk here now. We are making this in the summertime in Ireland. Now, not particularly dry this year, but still we notice a difference in the feeling immediately if the temperature is different outside. This is just lovely now. I'm going to sprinkle some flour on my working surface. away everything. And I would always have a little bit of flour extra on the side. We're going to put this out. At this point, it's very important to wash your hands so that you can work the pastry. You can work the pastry with clean hands. Flour on to make it easier to work with. Please, please, please work with soft hands. It's a little bit like the favorite person in your life. You have to be nice and soft. Favorite person or animal, whatever, you have to be kind. And you have to be kind in your feelings and in the touch. You see the bounciness, it's just nice and soft. Do not overwork the pastry. And even if you come close up here, you can see the little flecks of butter still in there. Good, real Irish farm butter. Joseph, can you give me that knife there, please? I hope the editing department is working. And then one sharp cut. Sharp cut. Then clean the knife. Sharp cut. Because if you don't give a sharp cut, you will get too many wibbly wobbly scones. There are scones that don't have a good flavour. That don't have a good shape. I personally don't like the roundy ones. At O'Connell's you never get a roundy scone because our background is from the country and we didn't have these nice posh round scones down the country. We only had cut ones and we weren't really terribly interested in the shape. All we were interested in was the taste. So we cut our scones in squares. Now I made reference there to wibbly wobbly scones. My mother in her business used to make at certain times about 100 scones together, and she was very often helped by her grandchildren, and her grandchildren would help on the basis that grandma would give them a wibbly wobbly scone. So if the scones, if there were one or two scones that weren't quite good enough for the customers, the grandchildren were allowed to eat them. So the grandchildren would be peering over what grandma was doing, and eventually when a very, very lopsided or strangely shaped scone came out of the oven, the grandchildren would jump up and down because they knew perfectly well that grandma would do it. I think we older children understood that grandma usually was purposely making wibbly wobbly scones for her grandchildren, but of course they thought it was luck, but actually grandma always managed to produce a few wibbly wobbly scones. So there we are. Takes us back, really, memories. Food is all about memories, isn't it, really? It's about remembering what we did, it's the flavours. And that's the one good thing about, you know, when we use the original recipes, there is no point in going away from the original recipes. It's because it takes us back to our childhood. Flavours, taste, smells. It's amazing how it takes us back. What we are about to put into the oven now, it's exactly the same recipe that was made by our grandparents, our great-grandparents, and there's something fantastic about that. This you will not achieve by making by machine. Now, of course, to feed the masses, we must make some things by machine. But if you want something really, really special, you will never beat the old ways. Again, the same thing here. You know, we are not really very orderly in the way we put them in the oven. Very important at the last minute we put on some egg wash, okay, and then we're dipping them in sugar, okay, nice crystal sugar, granulated sugar, as we say here in Ireland, and that means that you get crunchy tops, which gives an added texture when the scone is done. So we're going to put that into the oven now at 220 degrees for about 10 minutes. The oven needs to be very, very hot. It can be that if you're working with a fan oven, you must do it at a slightly reduced temperature.